I don't blame you for not wearing a hat. If my toupee looked that good, I wouldn't wear a hat either.
Yeah, it is remarkable how good it is, Gary. I've paid large sums of money for it. So, but next time, I guess I'll go down and get a nice Missouri Tigers hat.
There you go.
No. Is there such a thing?
Yes, there is.
Yes, there are good looking Mizzou hats.
I bet there are.
You're
So,
behind.
you know, it did start.
So anyway, the movie I selected was Inherit the Wind.
I thought that was Gone with the Wind.
Okay.
You spend a lot more time on your movie.
Get back to us at 10 o'clock. All right. Anyway, this is a 1960 movie directed by Stanley Kramer. It starred Spencer Tracy, Fredric March, Gene Kelly, Dick Young, among others. This was a rare straight dramatic role for Gene Kelly. I'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, this started off as a play that was written in 1950, and it made Broadway in 1955. And then Kramer took it to film in 1960. It is pretty accurate depiction of the Scopes monkey trial, which took place 100 years ago this year in the month of July 1925. It dealt with a state law in Tennessee that said that if you're going to teach the theory of Darwin's theory of evolution, you also had to teach the theory of creationism. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Spencer Tracy played a character by the name of Henry Drummond. Drummond was supposed to be Clarence Darrow, who was a noted attorney in the first half of the 20th century, first third of the 20th century. In researching this, I read that as a lawyer, one time he gave a closing argument for a trial, and his closing argument lasted 12 hours. And I mean, I've never heard of that. I mean, Castro didn't give speeches that long. But I'm amazed the judge allowed him to go that long. But anyway, he played Clarence Darrow. Fredric March played a guy by the name of Matthew Harrison Brady, who was a loose stand-in for William Jennings Bryan, who was a noted orator and politician in the back third in the last decade of the 19th century and the first quarter of the 20th century. He was, among other things, the youngest major candidate for president. He was nominated by the Democrats in 1896 at the age of 36 years old, just 1 year older than the minimum requirement. He ran for president as a Democrat 3 different times. He was Woodrow Wilson's Secretary of State for both of his terms in office. So that meant that he was a major diplomat during World War I for the United States. And he was the dominant Democratic politician for almost 30 years, from 1895 through about 1918. He was a force unlike the Democrats have ever had since then. Gene Kelly played a gentleman by the name of Hornbeck, E.K. Hornbeck, and that was a stand-in for H.L. Mencken, who was a columnist and editorialist for the Baltimore Sun newspaper. He, in fact, they use one of Mencken's quotes in this movie, talking about the role of journalism is to afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted. Mencken was a fierce critic of organized religion in general, and the way that he treated the Matthew Harrison Brady character in here with all sorts of contempt was also very Mencken-esque. In fact, another one of his quotes, it's not in the movie, but Mencken was always often said the only way for a good journalist to look at a politician is down. So that was there. Dick Young plays a Bert Cates, and he was the John Scopes character in the real trial. Scopes actually agreed to be the plaintiff in this case in 1925. So it wasn't like he was arrested and he was a hostile plaintiff. He was part of the effort to get this before the judge, and part of the reason that this happened in Dayton, Tennessee, was they were in fact trying to drum up tourism for their town. This thing had a budget of $2 million. It made $2 million in the box office. It's also had 3 different TV versions of this throughout the years. I think the latest one had George C. Scott in it about 25 years ago. The film was nominated for several Oscars. Spencer Tracy for Best Actor. They also got a nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay off the Broadway play, Best Cinematography for Black and White, and Best Editing. And it did not win any Oscars at all. The name of the movie comes from a biblical quote from the Old Testament, Proverbs 11:19. He who sows trouble in his own house shall inherit the wind, which basically means if you cause trouble, you're going to get trouble. And I think the way some people would say it now is fuck around and you find out. So that's it. The other thing I wanted to say about this is one of the reasons I picked this film is I think, number one, the film, the genesis for the stage play was the McCarthyism of the late 1940s and the early 50s. I mean, we all know what a scourge took place in Hollywood, and that was the genesis for this play. The other thing is that in this play, they talk a lot, not just about Darwinism and the theory of evolution, but they talk about free thought. And free thought is something that is now, also under challenge in some circumstances, both on the right and on the left, for that matter, in this country. I mean, you can only point to the rise of anti-Semitism based largely on people who believe that the Palestinians in Gaza are being subjected to genocide, to see that. So it's this movie, I believe, talks a lot, not only just about the theory of evolution, but the importance of people being able to think freely about things. And then the only other thing I wanted to bring up on this is I had a personal connection to this in an odd way, in the sense, and I'm not sure any of you guys will remember this. 20 years ago, the state of Kansas and their school board got into a controversy over teaching intelligent design as a comparable theory to evolution. And the phrase was "teach the controversy." And people that were advocating for intelligent design were not exactly creationists, but they could see them from their house, in the sense that they believed that the universe is so complex that it had to have the hand of an intelligent design.
Uh-oh.
There it goes.
Oh, no.
That was the state of Kansas right there doing that.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh dear.
It was gonna be so good.
And he was on a roll with a personal
Yeah.
background.
I wanted to hear him
Back.
say more about the connection between the McCarthyism and this. I think I understand the leap, but I was hoping to connect the dots.
I'm sure he'll tell you all about it when he gets back, right after these messages.
Details at 11.
I had never seen this movie before. Has everybody else seen it before?
Nope.
Yeah, we
No,
saw it
I
here.
had never seen it.
Yeah,
Here
it
we
was
go.
it was a pick a couple
There
years
you go.
ago.
It was?
Yeah.
Well,
There he is. Yay.
Hey,
Anyway, to briefly sum up, what I was trying, the point I was trying to make is that I covered this controversy over intelligent design as it went through the Kansas State School Board, and it wasn't just one meeting or two. This controversy lasted for 4 years, and actually, the State Board of Education, which was had a conservative majority at the time, adapted the Teach the Controversy standards. They caught a great deal of grief about it from the scientific community in particular, but a lot of the academic community in general. And they quietly discarded it after 2009. But it was really interesting, 80 years after the fact of the Scopes monkey trial, to see a bunch of the same arguments, including the age of the earth and the role of the prophets, all being played out during these hearings, where there was cross-examination and all sorts of debate about whether or not intelligent design should be taught along with the theory of evolution. So anyway, I hope you found it interesting. Again, the idea of protecting or promoting free thought is what led me to this movie. I'd seen it a few times before, but it struck me very powerfully when I saw it, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and I went,
You're pretty good at
Let's
this,
bring it up.
Mahoney. You should do this on TV.
yeah.
Connect the dots on the McCarthyism and the Scopes trial. I'm not sure I understood why one led to the other.
Well, they used the Scopes trial basically as a parable, I think, about the lack of free thinking that produced McCarthyism and Joe McCarthy and the Red Scare of the late 1940s. It wasn't just McCarthy in the 50s. A lot of this started, well, there was a Red Scare in the 30s. There was a serious one in the 1940s after World War II that actually Richard Nixon used to his advantage to launch himself into national politics. But the playwrights believed that that there was the Red Scare was inhibiting people from free thought, and that if you didn't think that the only good red was a dead red, and that communism was overtaking various forms of the U.S. government, that if you didn't think that was a threat, well, then you were at the very least a fellow traveler with the communists and socialists. And in the 30s, especially in the 30s, there were a lot of people in Hollywood and in the arts in general that toyed with socialism, and some of them joined the American Communist Party. But the whole scale Inquisition is what led the people that wrote this to try to promote free thinking by bringing up this parable of the monkey trial.
Sounds like it could have roots in witch hunts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you go back and look at what is it, Arthur Miller's play, The Crucible, as well as the witch hunts of the 17th century. Yeah, most definitely. So that's the McCarthy tieism, and I think there have been lots of movies that have discussed this. Some are right out front, like the movie The Front. The movie Good Night and Good Luck deals with McCarthyism and Edward R. Murrow in the 50s. The classic Western High Noon is a parable for the threat of McCarthyism as well. Those are three just off the top of my head. So Anyway, what'd you guys think?
What struck me about how the way this movie unfolded is there's small town conservatives with deep religious views up against big city slicker attorneys and big city media, and the attorneys and the media look very woke. It looks like just the time we're living in, just in color instead of black and white.
Yeah, William Jennings Bryan in particular, one of his nicknames was the Great Commoner, and he rose up to political power and national fame as an orator for defending the rights of rural interests around the turn of the century. I know that there are some people that think that the cowardly lion in The Wizard of Oz is supposed to be a caricature of William Jennings Bryan. But no, again, yeah, the same sorts of things seem evident to me as well with in current society.
The only part that made me a little uncomfortable was the reporter didn't seem objective. He had already chosen his side and was all in.
Yeah,
His
and
hired the attorney.
Mencken was like that. I mean, they don't go through that. I mean, he describes himself as a reporter on this, but he had a lot of contempt for William Jennings Bryan to begin with, and like I said, he was a columnist and an editorial writer more so than he was a straight.
So he had a point. He had a point of view he brought to the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was the Fox News person. I mean, it was all opinion.
Yes.
It wasn't really reporting.
He had some funny one-liners though.
Yeah.
Was he actually at the trial, Mahoney? Mencken?
Yeah, he was, and that business about his paper retaining Darrow to represent John Scopes is accurate.
Okay.
I mean, you know, the storyline, the boyfriend girlfriend aspect of the movie, and the drowning boy and the minister, all that are devices that as I understand it, they put in the play and carried it over into the movie. But the romantic angle wasn't part of the Scopes trial 100 years ago.
Well, I've seen this 3 or 4 times and always forget that Dick York is in it. I turn that on and here comes Cates and I go, God, bewitched.
Bewitched.
Waiting for somebody with their nose.
That's what Joan said. That's what's his name, Daryl or Darren?
Aaron?
Aaron Stevens.
There's
Yeah.
Darren. There's a bunch of extras from like the Andy Griffith show too in there.
Really?
Well, if you think about all of the people that were in this movie that we come to know through lots of film and lots of television, I mean, it's pretty significant, and I would think, you know, I don't know when Stanley Kramer really became a big time director, but he's done a lot of big films, and you know, maybe at the time, if you got an opportunity to be in a Spencer Tracy movie,
Yeah.
it was probably a great big deal in your career. And Fredric March
Sure.
and Gene Kelly wasn't yet, I guess, the Gene Kelly we now think of, but it was probably a big deal, and they were able to get a lot of people that probably made a nice living being actors. I'd guess.
Actually, John, Kelly had already made a pretty serious reputation as a producer and choreographer in Hollywood.
Had he by then? Okay.
Yeah. By 1960,
By
I mean,
60, yeah.
yeah, he had already done American in Paris and a number of other films. The thing that's striking about this is he is a straight dramatic actor in this thing. You know, and to your point about others, you know, the judge is Henry Morgan. You know,
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
found myself thinking about Colonel Potter a lot.
Yeah. That's right.
Joe Friday's partner.
So the movie only made 2 million, which means it was not a box office hit.
Apparently not. I mean, it was a pretty heavy topic in 1960.
Yeah.
And that's what struck me is Stanley Kramer and many of his movies. But in rewatching this, he was really heavy-handed with what he was trying to convey, I thought.
I think he always is pretty heavy-handed.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, he always has a point of view. And it's always it's usually controversial and it's always good. It does make you think, and that's what I liked. I thought this film was very relevant to today, you know, especially how they were using emotions like you know, fear to get their point of view across. And it was just so typical of what's happening today, you know, getting everybody riled up without, you know, without thinking, just reacting on to their emotions, you know. So you got God versus science, and, you know, what side are you on? There was something else.
Give me that old time religion.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. And that's what they want. Well, anyway, I had never seen it before, so it did seem old-fashioned to me. Now, and I always like Kramer's films, all the ones that I have seen. But this one just seemed, it seemed to me that the acting was more done like like a play would be,
Yeah.
instead of a movie. There was all that you just, you know, just the way they went on, you know, they all had their script that they went on for hours, or it seemed, you know, for a long period in it. But other than that, but the subject matter, of course, that's what was so interesting about it, is that free thought. Even to this day, we still have those issues, like Gary said, we still have them going on today, and it's scary. You know, they don't believe in science and don't believe in experts. It's just what you feel about it, you know, and who you believe. So
Back on
Yeah,
point, Donna,
supposedly,
I think, I got the feeling that Fredric March was still trying to project to the last row of a theater
yeah,
instead
yeah,
of a camera that was right at his face. I mean,
yeah,
it was almost overdone.
yeah. That's the only thing. Yeah.
supposedly, um, Kramer had an area set aside off to the side of the set where where a number of people would come in when they knew that Tracy and March were going to be doing a heavy back and forth with their scenes, and would just would come in, and I don't know if they had seats or would just stand, but there would be an audience in the on the soundstage, just watching Spencer Tracy and Fredric March, you know, ply their craft.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like somebody got a text that morning and said, "Hey, at 2:00 is when these two giants of the industry are gonna, you know, go at it." I found myself thinking back to As Good as It Gets, and we talked about the fact that there were so many great there was so much great facial acting, and Gary, I think you said, well, you know, it was a close-up movie. Well, this was certainly a close-up movie, and if you didn't love Spencer Tracy, just, you know, like that, and trying to understand and goading the Brian character into, you know, the creation started at 9 a.m. On whatever day in 4003 BC, and leads to that long soliloquy of Darrow talking about, well, was it a 24-hour day? Could it have been a 25-hour? I mean, you know, that was
Yeah.
that was pretty good writing, I think.
Yeah.
I'd never seen it before, and absolutely loved it. These big name actors just going at it, and they were so fabulous. And I liked the fact that it was almost like a play, like you said, Donna, in that each scene had its own background. You weren't jumping around from this and that, and all this AI and cinematography going on. No, the emphasis was on the actors, not what was behind them. And I really, really liked that.
Yeah, they surely did. If they spent $2 million making it, most of that had to be salaries. It could not have
Yeah,
been on
yeah.
sets.
Yeah.
It was not sets, yeah,
that's
Especially
what I
for
think,
this
too.
group.
yeah.
Was it artificial sweat or was it real sweat?
Yeah.
I think some of it was sprayed on.
Yeah, it kind of dried in between on a few
Spencer
scenes
Tracy
too. I
Yeah.
don't know if you noticed that or not.
Pumps right here, you know.
I thought the crowds through the streets that were singing Give Me That Old Time Religion, I mean, that was some pretty good stagecraft. That was big set stuff, you know.
Reminded me of the Music Man.
There you go.
76 trombones coming down.
Marching down Main Street, yeah.
You could still simulate that on stage, though, I think, pretty effectively. You
Oh,
can
yeah. Oh, I'm
sense that.
sure.
So directly translating back and forth between silver screen and stage would not be that hard, but I mean, they did do a nice job of adapting it.
Yeah. They had tracking shots. Yeah.
I liked all the women carrying their purses while they were singing.
Imagine how many drones they used in that. So no Oscars, huh?
No, yeah, I'm surprised Fredric March didn't get nominated as well. And
Yeah.
That was surprising, yeah.
and for that matter, Gene Kelly.
Mhm.
Mike, do you know who won the Oscar for Best Actor that year against Spencer Tracy?
No, I don't.
Jeff Copeland, had you seen it before?
Yeah, I
Recently or eons ago?
I think when the club watched it a while back.
I must have missed that week. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that we had it before.
Jeff, you remember that, I think, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't have watched this otherwise. I mean, I enjoyed it, but yeah, that's
This
the only
one-
other time I'd seen it. So,
This is a tour de force of great actors from my standpoint. The sheer emotion and the getting in each other's faces so much and interacting. I mean, you couldn't help but be engaged in what was going on there. It was powerful. I thought it was just an example of what actors really should be. And you could see these guys being on stage instead of being in a movie and just pulling it out of the audience.
Mhm.
I just for that sheer experience, plus the subject matter is always fertile here. There is the rational versus the irrational, and the
Emotional.
point out the sort of urban versus rural, and the religious versus the academic and so forth. I was kind of surprised at how Henry Morgan dismissed the academic guys and said
Right.
agreed that they didn't belong there. To me, that seemed like a very obvious connection that would be introduced into that whole discussion, and he just dismissed them.
I thought about that too, Jeff, but what I read and was that because in the real trial, because it was against the law to talk about it, they couldn't bring it up in the trial. They couldn't bring up evolution in the trial itself because it was against the law to do so in a public space at the trial. At least that's
Okay.
what I read.
I
I wonder if he was an appointed judge versus an elected judge.
Yeah.
they were talking about the election coming up, and that
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they made
Yeah.
specific reference to elections were coming up.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
It might have made a difference.
I found the the Oscars for that year. I think it was a pretty good year. Burt Lancaster, he won it for Elmer Gantry.
Oh, yeah.
Jack Lemmon, he was nominated for The Apartment. Spencer Tracy was nominated. But I also noticed in Best Supporting Actor, the guy who won it, he was in Spartacus. So Kirk Douglas wasn't even nominated
Wow.
that year. So I think it's some pretty good movies.
Bill, had you seen it before?
Yeah, I saw it movie club. I mean,
Okay. Other than if it was an early movie club, but did you see it
no,
30 years ago? Had you ever seen it before?
no.
How about you, Jeff?
Me, no.
Yeah. Or either Jeff, had you seen it before movie club?
I think I had seen it or had read the book a long time ago. I can't remember which.
I thought I heard Jeff say that he liked to watch it every year, something like that. Didn't you say something like that?
I don't think so. I could do that though.
Maybe that's what you meant. Yeah. No, it
Did
was,
anyone else get the feeling at the end that Drummond may have sided with his partner there that died? I forgot his name, Brady. That he maybe did side a little bit with him because he quoted scripture at the very end, and he only defended the teacher because he was paid to do that, and he was a damn good lawyer, and that's why they hired him. But maybe he was a little bit on the other side.
I think when he brought the two books together at the end,
Yes.
kind of walked off with them, it was like, this deserves consideration from all angles. And that was kind of his point in a lot of ways.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But as you point out, he's hired, and he was a damn good person to hire. He would do what you asked him to do and use his intellectual capacity to its maximum for that.
Chris, I thought that conversation was more after his character had died, and they had been friends for a long time. He campaigned for him for 2 years. I thought it was more emotion based than intellectually based, but
Yeah, John, I agree with your take on that. Yeah, because they had been friends, and Ryan didn't actually die that afternoon. He did die 5 days later.
Right.
out of Chautauqua, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. I thought it was back at home, but maybe, yeah. Ryan's did die within a week of the end of the trial.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, his death was in Dayton. I looked that William Jennings Bryan's death was in Dayton,
Okay.
where this was set. So I think I read that maybe he was at some tent meeting and probably a spellbinder. And
so the real trial was in Dayton, Ohio. Is that what you're saying?
Tennessee.
Dayton,
Tennessee. Yeah.
yeah, Dayton, Tennessee.
Karen, had you seen it before?
Oh yeah, long time ago. I love Spencer Tracy. He's, although I do like his, more lighthearted movies with Katharine Hepburn. Adam's Rib is one of my favorites of all time, and Desk Set. I love that movie. But yeah, it's a great film. It's got a lot of testosterone, but it reminds me of 12 Angry Men that way.
Yeah.
So
Did it hit you differently this time than it did the previous viewings?
well, that's hard to say, Gary. Again, it was a very, very long time ago. Probably before I had kids, so more than 40 years ago. So I don't recall like sort of how I reacted to it back then. But I mean, I agree with most of what everybody has said as far as it just being a very compelling story. And then once you sort of read about it and kind of know the background of the actual trial, the real trial, it's fascinating to just kind of see how that sort of got translated into the film.
Yeah, I think you can, I've only seen it once, and you could see it as almost like a documentary of this is a representation of what really happened. You
Mhm.
can watch it as this is just an example of great acting and great compelling movie making, or it's a statement on today, which is the whole time I was watching it, I was thinking how much of a statement it is on
Yeah.
today. That
Today.
That prompts me to,
didn't hurt the fact that it was great acting, but
How
so
about all the above, Gary?
yeah,
Yeah.
or all the above. Yeah.
Yeah.
is this something you'd recommend having your children watch? I think I would.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And if you
Oh,
haven't, seen the I think it was 99, Jack Lemmon played Clarence Darrow and George C. Scott played William Jennings Bryan. And those are two pretty giant actors, certainly in their own right. And that's pretty good too.
And John, was it like the same script? It was
Yeah, it's been a long time, Donna, since I've seen that version of it. But yeah, it's and it was a made for TV, not a theatrical release. But as I recall, it's pretty doggone close.
I think I saw that there's a newer one out. Am I correct there? Now and I might not be, but I thought I saw one from like 2021 or 19 or something like that. And maybe that was a TV or maybe something was streaming. I don't know. But I remember wanting to go back and didn't when I saw that, but maybe I'm wrong. Because I too was thinking it'd be interesting to see it a later version and how the acting was handled and the script.
I'm stunned that the box office wasn't any more than that.
Yeah, I am too.
It's still being watched, though. You wonder if they've gotten quite a bit more from residuals from.
Oh, yeah,
people
yeah.
watching, you
I
know.
don't
Imagine
doubt
how
that.
much money they made off us this week.
Well, it probably didn't have much of an international audience.
No.
Yeah.
Tickets were probably 50 cents back then.
True.
But I'm thinking about the times, if it was released in 1960, did anybody want to go to the theater and have, a couple of hours of this kind of social
Movie.
debate play out and rather than go see Mary Poppins or,
Spartacus.
whatever else was popular
I'm
then?
Spartacus.
Also,
I'm Spartacus.
Psycho.
I don't know that Elmer Gantry draws them in.
Psycho was this year too.
Oh God. Well, then that's where everyone was going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose if you had a
Right.
choice, if you're going to the
If you're going to
theater
see Psycho,
see-
there's a good chance your girlfriend will snuggle up to you. I don't think she's going to snuggle up to you during the snow monkey trial.
That's so true. Yeah, you if you're in the balcony, there's no kissing going on. No.
That's why your parents didn't let you go to the movies, Gary.
That's exactly right.
Went with that, yeah.
There was a play, Inherit the Wind, in 2007. Looks like Christopher Plummer and Brian Dennehy.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
So Donna, that maybe
Maybe that's what I
you
saw.
were thinking
Yeah.
about.
Huh.
So,
Maybe.
Mike, you said that you had an interest in this movie because it reminded you of the trials that you covered. I'm just wondering, like, when you're in a trial like that, is the banter and the way the audience interacts with the judge anything like what we saw in this movie?
No,
No.
no.
It's really quite orderly, right? I mean,
Yeah, and I started covering trials in 1972, working in Colombia, and I never saw many outbursts at all in courtrooms. There were a few, but nothing approaching what it was like, what they portrayed it to be like in this movie. I mean, I know that they used to have photographers in courtrooms, and that got banned. I don't know that they ever had a microphone that picked up the judge reading the jury verdict until they started televising trials. But no, I never the sort of chaos that they displayed on in this movie. I never saw anything close to that.
Where people got so heated up about it and all that. I mean,
No, I mean there'd be people occasionally, rarely, that were removed from courtrooms, but that was the exception, not the rule.
I mean, it's kind of like the Chicago 7.
Yeah, yeah.
You have cases and trials that have outbursts like that and asides and whatnot. And this was pretty big deal
yeah.
in Dayton, Tennessee, and in 1925.
Oh yeah, it generated national coverage at
Yeah.
that time.
Was WGN really there?
I don't know if they were or not. I know that they existed in
Oh,
1920.
I think they
Sure.
were, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Did
was
they get
wondering
the
the same
tourism
thing,
they were
Mike.
looking for?
Huh?
Go ahead,
What?
John.
No, I was
Hey.
agreeing. I was wondering the same thing, if WGN was actually there and whether they allowed the announcer to do what the announcer did in the film, you know, sort of interrupt the proceedings.
Because it also showed a row of reporters
Yeah.
working in it.
Well, yeah, you're going to have that, and sometimes they'll stick if it's a bench trial, they will stick reporters in the jury box. I mean, I've had that happen. You see, yeah, I don't know what WGN's programming was in 1925. I don't know if they had to interrupt Cub games or not. So
It's probably a case where the technology had outrun what was allowed in court, and until somebody stopped them, it's like,
Yeah,
hey, let's walk in there with a microphone. Let's see what
Yep.
happens.
yeah.
It's sort of like AI today. It's like, I don't know where this is going, but there are no rules. Let's run with it.
And the town was trying to get tourism partially, right? So
right.
the more they could promote this nationally, the better.
Did it work? Do you know if did people show up?
Yeah, they had a good summer. I mean, seriously, in terms of tourism, and then you know, but it was like the carnival. As soon as the carnival left town, so did the folks.
And I did you notice on I think it was one of the closing scenes, that they showed a Ferris wheel. So if this was set to draw people to Dayton, you know, did they bring the carnival to town at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give them something to do between court sessions, huh?
Yeah, well, between Chautauquas and the trial and
Well, I mean, I think we should mention that he was found guilty, right?
Yep.
So just not guilty enough. Is that kind of
but later I'm just reading, Bill, later overturned on a technicality, it said.
Yeah.
And then the state elected not to retry him. And
Right.
because
Didn't they get rid
they
of that?
basically said, "All right, we've had enough of this."
Yeah.
How long did that law stand? I wonder.
I thought it was like 5 or 7 years afterwards and they changed it, something like that,
Yeah, something like that.
finally.
the law being that you couldn't teach?
Correct. Yeah.
Just like we can't teach DEI now.
Oh,
Mhm.
jeez.
Hey.
Yo.
So amazing to me.
So Bill's monkey is a macaque.
Oh,
Ah.
it's a macaque.
How you know
It's a-
that?
It's an Asian monkey with a sturdy build, including short-tailed and tailless versions.
That's
So
your
Bill's
monkey? I thought it was just a picture of your monkey.
Okay, Bill's picture of the monkey.
attributed to Bill.
I think you missed the story, Gary.
What was?
I did. Sorry.
Okay. When I went on my trip to Thailand,
Ah,
this, what's it called? A
No,
kite?
no, Bill, let him suffer. Let him stay in the.
Right, show up late, you don't get to hear the monkey story.
Okay.
He didn't watch the damn movie the first time.
I didn't know about it. I didn't know
He
about
stayed
it.
in my hotel room.
Everybody's got something to hide.
There you go.
He showed up on an island where we were having a picnic.
Ah,
Yeah.
I promise never to be late to this meeting again.
You stole all their Bibles.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how are we doing here? Doing pretty good. I guess
yeah.
it's time for the next book, maybe? I mean, movie?
Yeah, who's up?
That's
B.
me.
Matson.
Okay. Going in the Wayback Machine again.
Okay.
Not as thought-provoking as this week's, thank you, Mike, but the 1967 movie, The Graduate.
Oh, wonderful.
I've got one word for you.
Plastic.
Plastics. We've all seen it.
John will be very happy. She's been pushing us to watch this one. So
Maybe you'll get as tired of Simon and Garfunkel as I did watching it, rewatching it.
Really?
Paul
As
Simon
long as we
almost
don't
did,
have to hear Paul Simon in the current state.
Yeah. Yes,
yeah,
it's
he
hard.
almost didn't do the soundtrack. He wasn't sure he wanted to do that.
Really?
do. All right.
Yeah.
And I was going to mention, we watched Anora, and I know there was a lot of negative feedback on here, but I thought it was really well done.
Really?
Best movie of the year.
Yeah. Won a lot of awards. Must be pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe The Covenant, was it, what's the one with the priests or the Pope?
Conclave.
Conclave.
Yeah, that should have won it. Look
Got
at
another one coming up.
Yeah, we have the
Yeah.
real thing coming up. Yeah.
White Smoke Time.
Uh-huh.
Bet that boosts what viewership.
Yeah.
You know what I read today, you see, if you think back to everybody that's seen the conclave, the cardinal that they elect the Pope got up and basically said, you know, here, let's do what's best for the church, and let's take an altruistic view about all that. And he wanted the College of Cardinals to consider all that. Well, it was such a persuasive speech that they came around and elected him. And what I discovered reading about Francis today is that's what happened to him when he was elected Pope, that he got up and basically gave a speech. All right, guys, can't we all get along and move forward on somebody? And he was not considered one of the favorites, and they started to coalesce around him and elected him Pope.
Francis.
Yeah.
I think I read today that there is a limit of 13 days. The conclave can't last more than 13 days.
They actually changed that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it was Francis that did this. It's actually or maybe Benedict, the Pope before him, but because what the rule was is they need 2/3 to elect a Pope, and then if they get at the deadline on the 13th day, well, then it'd be a simple majority, and whichever Pope changed it, Benedict or Francis, said, no, I don't want people holding out to get to a lower threshold. So we're just going to stay at 2/3, and it'll go as long as it needs to.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Don't want any stolen elections.
Well, if
Yeah.
conclave is correct, they're all paper ballots, Gary. So, you know, although they're burned as soon as that balloting is over. Again, if conclave is, well, obviously that's what burns in the in the little fireplace.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Well, they should be pretty prepared for this one, you would think.
Yeah.
you know. But
Anybody else have any other side?
I saw The Amateur this week.
Oh, how was that, Bill?
The what?
The
The
amateur?
The Remy Malik. Went with about 6 or 7 people, and I was the only one who gave it a thumbs up. So it wasn't a super enthusiastic thumbs up, but you know, I liked it pretty good. It's kind of James Bondish. you
Yeah.
know.
It's kind of a nerdy Bourne movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way.
Yeah, he's in the
Nerdy
CIA.
born.
Yeah.
That's a
Jason's
Marcus
brother.
Clay.
It's had trouble with getting good reviews.
Is it?
Really? Huh.
When I went, Rotten Tomatoes, the one that were the people who see it, they rate it pretty good, but the director or the critics, they didn't give it a very good review.
Hmm.
So, but I mean, I liked it. Adventure. We're gonna go see Sinners tomorrow night.
See what?
Sinners, which is getting great reviews.
Oh yeah, Sinners. Okay.
You know, the Michael B. Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and those guys.
Playing doubles.
Is he?
He plays 2 characters.
Ah,
I read that he wants, I mean, he asked for a huge budget. He asked for a share of profits before the net. I mean,
Mhm.
and apparently it's an unprecedented deal that the way he made this movie. That's just the financial side.
So he wants a share of the gross.
Yes, exactly.
Good for him if he can get it.
Yeah.
Yep. I haven't seen any movies, but we started watching something called Friends and Neighbors, the John Hamm series, and started watching The Studio, the Josh Rogan series, which is unbelievable. It's
It's pretty funny.
yeah, it's a great take on Hollywood and the sleazeballs that run it.
Yes.
Did you like your Friends and Neighbors?
Joan likes it. I'm not as enamored of it as she is, but
I like that it's kind of causing him to examine his values.
yeah.
And
We used to read every book that Jonathan Tropper wrote, and then he stopped writing books. And we're watching this movie or the series, like written by, produced by, directed by, created by Jonathan Tropper. It's like, no, that's where he went. So he went Hollywood. But yeah, I mean, it's very watchable. It's easy. It's not his character isn't that much different than his character in Mad Men. He's just in a different setting. He's getting laid a lot. I know that.
Cool.
Okay.
so Mike had this pick. Who will have the next pick?
Me.
Okay. Just as long as everybody knows their order.
Just to pass on the graduates on Prime and Canopy.
Okay.
And I know nobody else has a library card, so.
I'm always behind a
I
wall.
do.
I do.
Library card. I use Hoopla and Libby. So speaking of The Graduate, who saw it when it was like brand new, when it first came out? Not
Yeah,
like
I
not
saw it.
Jeff with a G.
Everybody, right?
Didn't have, but
Yeah.
My parents let me go
so.
see it.
wow.
Oh, God.
I think I snuck out and watched that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one and Midnight Cowboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
gonna sneak out those
Look in here.
Yeah.
Have we
Eric,
ever
you
done
go-
that one?
You
You're
go
a
all the way
Dustin
down to
Hoffman
the tower
fan.
to see that?
Pardon
So
me?
what?
You go all the way down to the tower to see that?
No, I saw that in, where did I see that? That's a good question. I don't know.
I mean, it's 1969, isn't it?
Yeah,
7.
well, The
69.
Graduate is, but not Midnight Cowboy.
Like Cowboy. I think
Oh,
is
yeah.
69.
Cowboy
69.
69, right.
Wow.
So you had to see it here in town.
Yeah. Yeah. Must have been the Gilloys or the Fox Theater on the square.
Yeah.
Why did you ask Karen about who'd seen it?
I was just curious, really, yeah.
Did you see it when it first came out?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a 14-year-old,
Yeah,
Nude.
would have been. Yeah, in fact, if it was earlier than October, I would have been a 13-year-old.
oh,
That's where you met
got
the
the-
boys at the movie theater.
I think I'm trying to think. I think it was the Grand View, which was real close to my house, which was kind of a hangout spot too, because they had pinball and they had, so yeah.
Did you go with your
Or the
parents?
Crown. There was the Crown was like an older one. I might have seen it at the Crown, but
Did you go with your parents?
no. No, I was an only child whose parents, I mean, they, don't get me wrong, they loved me. I wanted for nothing, but they were much more interested in each other than they were in me. I mean, in many ways, I got away with murder. I did what I wanted to do. And yeah. And by the time I was old enough to drive, I had a car because my dad loved cars. And by the time I was 15 and a half, it was like, oh, we need to buy another car. Yeah.
she was a free-range daughter.
I was feral. I was a feral child. Yeah. Is anyone surprised by that? No.
All right, dinner time at my house.
Dinner
I'm out.
calling.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, great.
All right.
Good to see you
good
all.
night.
Take care.
Good
Good
pick,
luck, Mike.
Mike.
Great job,
Thank
Mahoney.
you. Glad everybody enjoyed it.
Good
Good one, Mike.
See ya.
Good choice.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.